Hello and welcome to the show. For today's Forza Horizon 4 challenge, we were going to run a little bit of a Nations Cup. We're going to be running vehicles from various nations around the world in a little hill climb tournament. The idea was simple. It's going to be a relay tournament. If you like A-class and B-class cars, we're going to be running up and then down the hill climb stage on Fortune Island. I was going to be representing America with a Corvette. Gone for some very big tyres on a Corvette in the hope that we would have some good grip. Now, the only rules as far as the cars went were we had to use two-wheel drive cars. So we weren't allowed to be using all-wheel drive swaps and any of that sort of thing. Hopefully, the American cars were going to be fairly good for this. I did have some small concerns, and it was difficult to get something, well, really light. And the hill climb stage, normally light and grippy is what you want, but I figured certainly the C2 Corvette was going to be as good an option as I had. Hello and welcome to the show. We are here today on Forza Horizon 4 with the Nations Cup. We are running a Nations Cup hill climb event. We have got 6 teams from around the world. I am representing America. We have France, we have Italy, Japan, Germany, and Great Britain. Now, this is a relay race up the hill climb stage. So, we're running A-class cars. They start at the bottom. They run all the way up the top of the mountain pass here at Fortune Island. When we get to the top, when we cross over the finish line there, we hand over to our teammate, who is then going to race all the way down to the bottom again. And this bridge will be the finish line for the vehicles. Now, I'm up in the first heat. I have got the A-Class Corvette. We're against a Citroen DS3. You couldn't really get 2 more different cars in this particular, I guess, heat. The victor goes through to the next round. The bottom 3 will go into a spanner final in which the winner from that will progress to the semi-finals. So there is a chance, you're guaranteed 2 races, there is a chance if things go wrong to progress. Here we go. It's the go command. Now, the DS3 is front-wheel drive. Now, it is always going to suffer off the start line. There is no doubt about it. However, front-wheel drives can be actually very quick when it comes to Horizon 4. So, got to be a little bit careful against that car. The drift zones are not activating for me properly. I don't know why. And that's bad news. So, I'm going to have to deal with traffic. Thank you for that one, Forza. I don't know why that's broken. Great. We're just going to deal with it. So the Corvette, one of the reasons why I use the Corvette is relatively light, 2,700 pounds. Not too bad for a classic American car. The other reason is tyres. 345s at the rear. Those are some very, very big tyres on this car. Also 295s at the front. And again, very important. In the world of Forza, big tyres is more good. Lots of grip. In the Corvette, it's very planted through the road. Through the corners on the road. I have to dodge out of the way, though, of this traffic. We're going to go to the inside. Now, that's actually a bit of a wonky line. However, I'm having to do that because we've got slight technical problems. We've got the power in the Corvette. We've got the power of the torque to pull away from the DS3. It's all over the back of us. The thing is, we can win this part. It's all going to be down to the B-class cars here. It's going to be down to the next the other cars to carry this, hopefully, through as we head into the final quarter. So, we win our part of the climb. We win our part of the climb unless we get really badly wrong here. The DS3 hasn't got any room to look past. So, we round the final corner. We stick out wide. It is very, very close. We are across the line. We hand over to the next car. Now, it's a little bit fiddly for me in terms of filming this, but it is what we have to do here. Right, we jumped into drone mode, and away is our teammate. So it's Corvette, another Corvette, a bit more of a classic Corvette here against a Renault 5 Turbo in B-class. Very, very close. Renault 5 is already there having a little bit of a look to the inside. Now for them, they haven't apparently had the issues with the drift zone, which is nice. Corvette looks like it's got a bit more speed. Now this could come in very handy for that run to the finish line. Even if it loses out to the Renault 5 at some point down the twisty stuff, if you can be really fast towards the finish line, that could come in very handy. Just about everything in here is going to be on race tyres. It's almost paramount. Even in B-class, you need grip on this stage. Grip is more important. Grip is king over everything. Down here is they're still swapping paint. They're side by side. The Renault 5 is going to have a look around the outside. It might actually make that work, you know. Oh, it's the run out of grip. It really tried. I mean, that is a hell of an effort from the Renault 5 Turbo there. it very nearly made that one stick as we sweep around these next couple of corners. The Renault is good through these corners. Here, actually now going to have a look to the inside. The Corvette's got a little bit too deep through there. The Renault gets to the door as they go side by side through the chicane, sort of chicane section. I think that this is good news, I think, for Team America here, because the Renault, I believe, does not have the top end as we're side by side in the final turn. The Renault is across the inside. Come on, Corvette. Come on, Corvette. I said the Renault doesn't have the top end. It might be far enough away, though. No! It's all gone wrong for us at the end. The last corner, we were not quick enough out of it. The French are going to go through. The Renault 5 is through. That's a great battle. That was a fantastic battle in the end, sadly, for the American cars. That is very close, but we're going to have to go through the Spanner final if it's gonna work. So we're on to the second of the heats. Japan versus Italy, with a Nissan Skyline and a Ferrari Dino going to be running up the hill. I believe the Dino might have a turbo rally engine in it, but there we go. We will get the cars ready, and then we shall release them. It is a good start from the Nissan, not such a good start from the Ferrari here as we head up towards the first corner. Now, I don't know what's going to have a higher top speed, possibly the Skyline? The Dino is going to be very small and very light, and that is good for the twisty section, although it doesn't have massive tyres, could be the downside for the car. Dino chucks it into turn one, however there is no space to have a look up the inside through there. Head through again, the next corner. The Dino's definitely looking. Dino is definitely very, very keen to try and find a way past that one. So go side by side through the chicane. They both kind of jump across the grass fairly evenly, either side, trying to give each other enough space. I think the Skyline is struggling a little bit for grip on this course. It does not quite have the same amount of grip as that Dino. The Ferrari is looking every which way. It's very difficult to pass on this course, though. It is super difficult to get an overtake done here. I say it's super difficult. Of course, you can do it, but it is not easy. This is one of your best overtaking spots if you can make it work here, which the Dino tries, but not quite. Dino's not quite close enough to get under. I thought it might get underneath on the exit there. Might get out dragged, but I thought it was going to get underneath. It doesn't end up doing it. And the Skyline's just a little bit further away, although you see the Nissan moving around. Dino's to the outside. Dino's going to go a very, very long way around there, and it does not quite pay off for the Ferrari. But it's certainly right there if they do the transition in towards these next couple of corners, and when they go to the B-Class cars, we'll have to wait and see. It's still nose to tail through this section. The Dino has just not been able to find a way past the Skyline through all of it. It actually does get underneath it, but it's slow on the exit. So here we go. The handover. The Mazda will launch slightly first, slightly quicker than that Maserati, as we now start to head the way back down. I mean, we've got both small light cars here running in B-Class. I would imagine both, as I said, both probably on race tyres. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if anything not on race tyres worked for this. It's just the way the hill climb stage is. If anything, the MX-5 is actually now starting to pull a little bit of a gap down here over that Maserati. Now, I know the Maserati is a pretty good car. I've really struggled to build them. I don't know. I can't seem to ever make them work. I have seen them run very, very quickly indeed. They do sometimes lack a little bit of power. I mean, not that the power is not the most important thing on this downhill section. I say not the most important. It's always helpful if you have a bit more speed, but yeah, you need that huge amount of grip, and the MX-5 is doing very, very well. When the gap's got to this stage, and the Maserati's kind of stayed roughly there as we head through these next couple of corners. But it does seem to be not really able to gain all that much. Certainly not as close as it was in the America versus France round of this, as we head through this next corner. The MX-5 gets a little bit of a little kick of oversteer. I mean, all of these cars for this tournament have had to be rear-wheel drive. They're not allowed. It had to be two-wheel drive. Sorry, not allowed all-wheel drive. So there may be a little bit of moving around from some of the vehicles on these corner exits for the rear-wheel drive cars. The MX-5 is going to take this one with a relatively comfortable margin of victory here as we head around the final corner. I would say it's got a little kink on the straight. It's flat out run all the way to the finish line. The MX-5 takes the victory. Across comes the Maserati. Just didn't quite. It wasn't, a million miles back. Just it lost a bit of time early on and then couldn't really. I don't know whether that was a mistake or maybe just a little slow in a corner. The MX-5 does some celebratory donuts. However, whatever happens, the Mazda is through. Japan are through. Italy will face off against America in the Spanner final. So, for the third and final of the heats, we have got Great Britain, represented by a Lotus, against Germany, represented by a classic Porsche. Well, that's the Resto mod Porsche, essentially. It's very quick. It can be difficult to drive, can be a little bit dangerous, so it should be interesting to see how this goes. It's rear-engined, which can kind of help with launch and so on. I guess we're going to have to send them on their way. We're going to see what they might do up here. And someone forgot about the ready command. There's always one. Always one. As I swear, every time. There's... We do this to try and make it a little bit easier, so you're not sort of caught napping unawares. Right, let's go. Let's get the ready again. A lot of noise from the Porsche. Then we launch the pair of them. That's more like it. Off the line we go. The Lotus gets the jump initially. Is it going to get the jump all the way to turn 1? I'd be surprised, actually, if the Lotus did. I would expect the Porsche to be a little faster in terms of top end. But no, the Lotus is going to take it all the way to the first corner. As we head through here, oh, Porsche always gets a little bit of a twitch across the grass. Not what you want to be doing through these corners. Now, we know the Elise is a very good car at the end of it. The Elise actually got into a little bit of trouble heading towards this chicane. The Porsche got a big slide, but the Porsche is all over the place. A smidge. That is the difficulty with that car, is it's very fast in between going very sideways. I feel you're always constantly on edge. Can get it, if you get it perfect every time, you can get some lap speed, but, you know, that's difficult to do. It's difficult to do up, but certainly up a stage like this. It's not an easy road to drive in the best of cars, let alone in a vehicle you're having a little bit of a fight with. Through these next corners we head. The Lotus continuing to extend its lead a smidge. Oh, Porsche smacks the barrier on the outside. Still not all that far behind, and somehow, despite it looking like a complete animal to drive, it is there. It's actually closed the gap up despite visiting the Armco barrier through all of that one. Around the next corner we go. The Lotus was a little bit slow mid-corner, a little bit funky. I don't know, maybe missed a shift on the way through there. Is possible. It's easy done sometimes. You leave it in a gear for too long or shift up a little too soon or something. Maybe. One more corner to go before the handover. Now the Lotus has got a half-decent lead. The British car is going to hand over to the Ford, and the BMW actually gets a pretty good start. Of course, BMW rear-wheel drive, the Escort likely to still be front-wheel drive in this one. So a little bit of gain could be made by the 2002 Turbo there off the line. We'll have to see how it goes as we run through this stage. As I said, both cars are likely to be on race tyres, even in B-Class. The Escort can be a pretty damn good car, I do know that much, in B-Class. Again, don't worry about the traffic. It's ghost moded for everybody apart from me, apparently, as we head through these next couple of corners. The gap kind of remains about what it was on the way up. It's not changed massively from what it was on the way up through here, as 2002 is still, you know, it's still there, it's still looking. One mistake can be very costly on this stage. Not to use the curse of the commentator at all, of course, but it's very easy to run wide. It's easy to overdrive a corner, and around here you overdrive a corner and you fall off the map. So, in fact, in some ways, it's a little more dangerous going downhill you overdrive a corner. On the way uphill, you tend not to have the fall off the side of the map accident. Whereas on the way downhill, you very much do have the fall off the side of the map accident. Unless the 2002 Turbo either has an absolutely mega run through these final sections, which it doesn't seem to quite have the grip to match that Ford. Either it's going to have an unbelievable amount of speed, which I would be very surprised if it did. I doubt it's going to be able to cover that sort of ground. The Escort's a little wide at the final corner. Won't help the Escort RS. Here comes the BMW. Has it got an answer to the Ford on the run to the finish line? No, it doesn't. It may be... I actually don't even know if it is the slightly faster car, even with the Ford's poor run. The Escort is through to the next round. Team GB are into the semi-finals, a guaranteed place. That means Germany will join the United States and Italy, I believe, in the Spanner final. That's going to be an interesting Spanner final indeed. So, it is Spanner final time now. We have got the Americans, the Italians, the Germans lined up on the grid. It's an interesting matchup, all classic cars. I feel like I might be good on the way up. It could be close against the Dino. I think the Porsche might be too uncontrollable. We'll have to wait and see, though. Yeah, I could get to the top first, and we will have to see how it goes on the run back down again. If the other Corvette can do a good run down the course. Here we go. We are off the line. We get a better launch than the Porsche. The Ferrari does beat us initially. We should surely power past that towards turn 1 in the 420 horsepower Corvette. However, of course, the Dino is light. But the Dino is light and the Dino is quick. And there's a very good chance we are having issues with the drift zone here. So we may have potential... We're going to have to deal with traffic, although it's very similar for most of the cars in the field. So, unfortunately, it is just a problem that we have got going on with Forza currently. The Dino does not have the same turning that we have in the Corvette. Trying to find a way past here is difficult, but we outturn that Dino. Of course, this is just the huge size tyres you get on the Corvette. That's what's doing it here. I haven't seen the Porsche. It's a little bit further back behind. Oh, the Ferrari's slow through there. However, I actually get my line a little wrong. The Ferrari's going to be really slow now on this corner. Can we make this work? Oh, that is jink out of the way of the Mini. We're still looking... Oh, no, we're going to get caught out by a Volkswagen. We're still looking for a way past. I mean, we are putting the Dino under so much pressure on the run up this hill here. Could we find a way past in the final few corners? This Corvette is actually really, really good on the hill, I have to say. We may be able to have a little sneaky look underneath here. Not quite. We're right on the tail. The Ferrari slides the car through there. There is nowhere to pass on the way through. I think I've actually got 2 wheels through that section. What's going on, Corvette? You're not supposed to be doing that. Absolutely nowhere to pass, though, on the run towards this final corner. Certainly not if we're going to keep it on the road. Around the last turn we go. It's going to be all in the downhill section now as we chase that Ferrari across the line. We're going to jump into drive mode. The Porsche's across the line behind us, of course. Right, into the drive mode we go. Italy leads America, leads Germany by a very small margin. What is going to be able to happen on the way down here? Can the Corvette find a way past? Now, I think these cars have got the drift zone working. We don't really know what's going on at the moment. But they've got through, no problems at all. It's the Corvette still staring at the back of the Italian sports car. Oh, the Corvette's got a really good run here, but it's going to be on the wrong side for the next corner. The Maserati may be the faster car down the... Why did the BMW fall in from the sky? I don't know. There's a cutback going on from the Corvette. Can it get up the inside through here? It's going to have a go at the inside, but they're both going to be slow on the exit. Here comes the BMW now, looking for a way past. BMW's to the outside of the Corvette, and that's not going to be good news for us. We don't want that sort of a fight if we can particularly help it. Corvette slides through the next corner as we head down here, still looking for a way. I think the problem is it's got to find a way past before the final corner. It can't outrun the Maserati to the finish line here. Maserati's defending heavily through all of this. They get connected. They get connected a little bit. The Corvette's pushed across the barrier in all of that. They're still going. The BMW's in the back of the Corvette through the next corner. I mean, it could go any which way. I fear we're going to lose out on the drag race to the finish line once again. The Corvette's had a look. It's actually a really horrible line through there for the Corvette. The BMW's on the outside. The Maserati is going to make this one win. He's going to make this one work in the end, I should think, unless it's got terrible lack of top speed, but that doesn't look to be the case here. The Maserati is through to the next round, followed by the BMW, then Corvette. The Corvette just couldn't find a way past. In the bits where the Corvette was quick, it couldn't find a way past, and then it couldn't do much afterwards. We couldn't find a way past the Ferrari. We looked and looked the entire way up the hill. If we could have done, it might have been a very different story. But that is the way that it goes sometimes. The Italians are through, and we've crashed the drone. A fitting end, perhaps, for the American hope. So, we are on to the first of the semi-finals. Great Britain versus Japan in this. The Lotus against the Skyline. Now, we know the Skyline perhaps struggles a little bit for grip over some of the cars that have gone up the course. The Elise is quick, but did let go a couple of times. It should be an interesting matchup between the pair of them. And, of course, we have the MX-5 and the Escort racing back down the hill. Let's not forget, the Escort being front-wheel drive is going to have that slightly slower launch. So, even if the Elise is ahead as they cross the finish line, if it's very close between the pair of them, you could see the MX-5 still launch slightly quicker. It was a fairly even start between the pair of them. The Skyline, a little bit better top speed, is going to lead towards turn 1 here. Can the Lotus find a way past? Overtaking has been very difficult on this course. We saw how much I looked and could not find a way past the Ferrari on the entire way up here. Lotus having a look around the outside, gets huge sideways moment from the Elise. Also a little bit too much of that car. It's one of those cars that's very grippy up until the point where you've overstepped the mark, and then it's very, very sideways and very snappy all of a sudden. and that's going to lose you a little bit of time. So Lotus has now got to... Ooh, God, look at all sorts of fun times on the way up here. He actually got a really good run through all of there, but it's going to be the long way around through this next corner. Is the Lotus going to be able to make this one stick? It might just do in all of this. It's still alongside. It doesn't have the power. It just cannot quite beat the skyline towards the next corner. Still the Nissan defends through here. Lotus is looking. There's nowhere to go over there. You're on the grass. You're going to lose speed. You're going to lose traction trying to get the power down. Lotus still unable to find a way past. So far I've had one overtake technically on the... on the climb. A lot of looking and a lot of attempts have been made. The Lotus is alongside, but it's far too tight to a line there, and you're not going to get the speed on the exit of that one. I actually love the skyline. Knew there was a car coming underneath it at that particular moment in time, and now we're into the twisty bits. The Lotus is best off. Oh, Nissan is a little bit wide. There's a little bit of contact between the pair of them. The Nissan the Lotus is best off if it just sits behind the Nissan and hopes. Lotus actually gets some understeer through that final corner. Here we go. Changeover time. The MX-5 is launched ahead of the Escort. Now, will we see an overtake down the route here? We saw the MX-5 was pretty bloody good, actually, in its first run. It was fairly convincing in its run against the Maserati on the way down the hill. The Escort's not quite as big a margin of victory in that one, but it was, again, fairly safely through here. The Ford has got some good speed going on. It's closed the gap up to that Mazda a little bit. May come down to who has the higher top speed out of the pair of them. I don't know, if I'm honest. We may see the Escort actually have a little higher top speed. Again, in the B-Class cars, there's not going to be a crazy amount of difference. To be fair, actually, everything is kind of quite similar here. Everything's been very, very close. There's been no massive differences, massive victories, really, between a lot of these cars as we head around these next couple of corners. But the gap here is almost the same as it was after they'd launched. Not much has changed on the run down the hill. Are there going to be any mistakes, though? Of course, that would and could make the difference through here. The MX-5 is a little puff of smoke, maybe a little funky line, maybe loses a tenth, but it's not enough for the Ford to be having a look and be having a think even at trying to find a way past. It's a little deep into this next corner for the Escort. Some front-wheel drive wheel spin now from that Ford. We're heading towards the last of the corners as the MX-5 shoots past. Now, it's just the drag race. Has the Escort got anything here? Has it got any sort of speed to be able to do this? It doesn't look like it can. Nope, it is going to be victory for the MX-5. The Mazda is through. The Ford, sadly, Team Great Britain are out of this one. The Japanese cars, they will progress to the final. MX-5 does look damn good on the downhill section. Well, here we go. First semi-final done. Oh, something very noisy shot past. The safety car has turned up just to inspect. On to the next one. So, we're on to the second semi-final. The Italians versus the French. We have the Ferrari Dino with a think turbo rally engine and the front-wheel drive Citroen. So, I think the DS3 is good, but I think it's going to struggle to beat the Ferrari up the stage. I think that is going to be a very, very tall order for it. Now, we know that Dino is very, very quick. However, as I said, all the cars are pretty close. It's just the launch difference is perhaps a big thing for the DS3 to overcome as they run up towards turn 1. Now, we did see the Renault 5 manage to make an overtake on the way down the hill, so it's not impossible for the Renaults, for the French cars, to find a way past if everything goes their way, of course. Maybe the DS3 will have the grip to find a way past in these corners. The Dino actually, maybe a little mistake through that, although not really costing all that much time as we run through the chicanes here. Oh, get the drone mode into position. I don't know who may or may not have to deal with traffic. I would expect the Ferrari to still have the issues with the drift zone, although we've not seen any cars really on the road, so that's always a plus point, shall we say. Sometimes what I see in drone mode is different to what they see. You never really know. Now there are some cars around the place. Again, I mean, the gap is basically as it was when they set off, although they've both brushed through the Armco barrier, trying to get a sneaky line. I probably would have tried to avoid that if I'd seen the car ahead of me do it. The DS3 is it's trying to catch. It's really looking for a way to catch up to the back of the Ferrari, but there's not all that much it can do at the moment as we head around this next turn. It's kept the gap there for the whole way up the climb. It is going to fall. So it's going to be decided on the downhill section, certainly. It's going to fall to the Renault 5, I think, here, to find a way past the Maserati, if anything is going to be able to happen. It isn't a massive gap, though, between the pair of them. You know, it is recoverable. It is, I say, achievable for that Renault, potentially. As we cross the line, off will go that Maserati. Off will launch the Renault 5 next. Can that turbo do anything about the Maserati? I have no idea. As it slides its way through turn 1, that's probably not what you're going to be wanting to do here. I don't know what's the fastest of the B-Class cars in terms of straight line speed through all of this. They've all looked pretty even. The MX-5 seemed half decent in terms of top end. I think actually the Corvette we had in B-Class is one of the slower cars down the straight, which isn't ideal, particularly. It was grippy elsewhere, but it just couldn't get into clean air. The Renault 5 is pretty fast, actually. The Renault has really shrunk the gap. The Renault is right here now. Can it find an overtake? Will it be able to find a way past? I mean, if it has got enough top speed and it can hug the back of the Maserati, leaving the final corner. Oh, Maserati's run wide. There's a mistake. The Maserati's gone wide through that corner. That is all the invitation. I mean, the Renault 5 was going quickly, and there was an opportunity there. You're not going to pass up that opportunity now. Can the Maserati find a way to fight back through these next couple of corners? It's to the inside. There's a lot of smoke pouring off the back of the Renault as it slid the car through the next turn. The Maserati is going to be on a very tight line through all of that, though. You're not going to get any speed on the exit of the corner. It was a go. An attempt was made through there. Might have been better off waiting to try and get the final corner. However, it is around the last turn. The Renault 5 is running away at the front of this. Is going to take the victory here. It is going to be France versus Japan in the final. The Renault is through. Just the tiniest of mistakes for the Maserati. It just went wide of the corner, and as soon as that opportunity arose, there'll be some celebratory donuts from the Renault there. Yeah, the French car is going to take it. So there we go. We have our finalists: France versus Japan. Right, we are on to the grand finale. We have the Skyline versus the DS3. Perhaps not the cars you were expecting to make it through to this final round. However, these are the vehicles that are here. We know the DS3 is going to struggle off the line, just being front-wheel drive, but the Skyline's not the grippiest of cars through this course, so it is going to be an interesting one to see how this is going to pan out. Off they go from the line. The Skyline is going to take the lead. The Skyline is probably one of the quicker starting of the A-Class cars, to be honest. If it was beating the Dino down to turn 1, that would beat the Corvette. So, you know, it's a pretty quick starting vehicle here. But we know the DS3 is pretty good in the turns, so it's got to get close. And the Renault 5 has been the only one to really make overtakes on the way down. Admittedly, has had opportunities better than perhaps some, but we will have to wait and see. DS3 is very wide through that corner. That's not at all what the French team are going to be wanting. Let's just put it a lot further back than is ideal through here. And if it can't get to the back of the Skyline, I think they're going to have a tough time. Maybe the Renault 5 can make up a little bit on the way down, and of course mistakes may be made on the course. We see a little slide from the Skyline through a couple of these corners that is not going to watch. Any oversteer is losing your time. Any sliding around is costing you that little bit of time, although similarly any understeer from the DS3 could do a similar thing for that car as they bounce their way through the next corner. The DS3 may be closing just a smidge, but it's more regaining time that it lost in those first couple of corners. The sort of mistake at the chicane has put it a little further back than it would really be wanting to be here. And you definitely don't want to be running too wide like the DS3 is. You lose a lot of time out over there. Less perhaps so in the front-wheel drive car. You get a little bit less oversteer issues for that one, but still, you don't really want to be out that far. I mean, it's not game over yet. We saw how quick the Renault 5 was. It really did catch and pass the Maserati. So here we go, transition. And let's not forget, only one car has had the overtakes, and that is the Renault 5. For a second I thought there was a front-wheel drive in this, and I don't know why I thought that. On the way down, there isn't a front-wheel drive on the way down. Here we go. MX-5 is leading the way. Can that Renault 5 find another spectacular pass on the way down this course? I do not know. We will have to. I do, although I think these are going to be more evenly matched cars. Traffic, I'm presuming everything is all good in the ghost mode situation. We still haven't figured out what is causing that one. Through these next couple of corners, we will head. I mean, the gap is about where it was before. The Renault, very quick. This section here, the Renault's really good at. The Renault's really very quick through there. It has actually closed that gap back in now, a little bit back in. It's not enough to try a pass, not at all, but if it can be right on the rear bumper around as it leaves the final corner, maybe that would be enough. Oop, lose my drone mode a little bit through there. You can see the MX-5 is pushing, smoke billowing from the back of the car in a couple of places. The Renault overdrove that corner though. Each corner is so important down here. Each corner is that opportunity to make up a little bit of time. The MX-5 is still got that lead, still ahead through these next couple of corners. It's not quite a sort of gap. The Renault cannot have a dive in this final corner. The braking zones aren't big enough, and it's not close enough to have a look through here. Has the Renault got crazy top end? I think actually it slid a little bit on the exit of that final corner. I don't think it's going to be enough. The Renault did a very, very good job. It got closer, but it is not going to be enough in this unless the MX-5 breaks down, which, let's face it, is unlikely. The MX-5 will take victory here on the hill climb. The Renault put on a hell of a show. Give credit, that Renault 5 was damn fast. That Renault 5 did really, really well in the B class. Section is gone and hidden in the river. The Japanese, who would have thought the Japanese cars would win on the mountain hill climb and then downhill stage? The Skyline and MX-5 combination would take victory, and the safety car has seen to it that the donuts have been curtailed by the safety car. No donuts for you, they were unsafe. Yeah, very well driven. A little bit gutted about the performance, sadly. Oh, for God's sake. Yes, safety car, please deal with the Volkswagen double cabs. A little bit disappointed for the Corvette, in all honesty. It was a very good car, my A-Class Corvette. The B-Class one was quick. It just never quite got sort of the clean run that it needed, and it lacked a bit of top speed towards the finish line. Sadly, that would see it in trouble. But this was a very fun tournament. This was a very fun tournament. We might have to come back with some different rules, maybe some different countries. We will see. That, though... She's got all the stupid name cars going on. That, though, is going to be it for today. I leave you with Barry Scott John, apparently. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.